My job is to somehow make them curious enough or persuade them by hook or crook to get more aware of themselves and where they came from and what they are into and what is already there, and just to bring it out. This is what compels me to compel them, and I will do it by whatever means necessary.
Welcome to the Black Girls Heal podcast, where we talk about healing our intimacy disorders, unresolved trauma, and building a healthy relationship with first ourselves and then others. Every episode, we will talk about advice you can apply today to break unhealthy patterns and grow in your self-worth. I'm Sheena Lachey, love addiction coach and trauma specialist. Let's begin. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of Black Girls Heal. I hope that you are shining and thriving wherever you are. I'm sending you all the love and comfort and praise. I'm praising you. I'm celebrating you. I am sending you so much joy, and I hope that you receive it through the airwaves. And I hope you are having your best day and taking care of yourselves. So today's episode is going to be about grieving, being let down at our big events. So by big events, I mean things like weddings, graduations, birthday parties, anniversaries, funerals, even medical operations, any life-changing or traumatic situations, even natural disasters, and just really needing support and to be rallied around at those types of things. Any big events that you have an expectation, and it's not a strange expectation, it's not an abnormal one, it's just part of the general consensus that at these events you should be surrounded by family, by friends, by people who are happy for you, by people who are celebrating you. But at those events, they're traumatic. Either people don't show up for you, they make it about them, they use it against you, they purposely ruin it, they try to take control of it, they try to shame you for wanting to be celebrated, for wanting the focus to be on you, for you wanting to be seen. They require you to share the spotlight with them or someone else. If there's a favorite in the family, if there's someone who's a scapegoat, if you're the scapegoat, there's so many different scenarios. And this is a type of trauma that I don't think people focus on enough. It kind of gets looped in with all the other smaller and bigger, but the other daily ways that people can let us down. So when we talk about how someone didn't show up for a birthday party, or how they fought at a funeral, or they embarrassed you at a wedding, or did something that was very hurtful to you, people don't spend as much time focusing on how deeply wounding that is. And what I've seen from my work with other people, from my own personal work and my own personal experiences, that because of the weight that these types of things hold, birthday parties, graduations, weddings, these are giant milestone events, the birth of children, the pain of having someone not show up in the way that you want them to is magnified. And not only is it magnified, because it's a big event, usually there's other eyes there. There are other people who may be either experiencing this with you, joining in with them, watching and feeling sorry for you, or not knowing how to fix it. And so, shame comes up with this, embarrassment comes up with this, guilt for those of us who take on the negative actions of people who are hurting us. For those of us who don't know how to separate what this person does has nothing to do with me, but more about them and their selfishness or their brokenness or their inability to show up for me, we can take that on. So I wanted to have a full episode because I know I've alluded to this in previous episodes before when I talk about people letting you down in these ways. And I was looking through the archive to see if I had another episode that focused on this, and I couldn't find one. So if I already have one, we're going to hear about it again. And even if I did, I would hope that this newer episode, hits you right when you need it. Right now, I'm recording this in mid-August. So this typically isn't the time of year where there are a lot of graduations, a lot of weddings, a lot of birthdays and things like that are going on. And so maybe tuck this in case you need it. If you're someone who has been let down and hurt at any of these types of events before, I hope that this episode helps you find some resolve and some closure in it. So I'm going to do this in two different ways. I'm going to talk about working through the grief and sadness of this before the event happens. So you kind of already know what's up. You know how your family is. You know how your friends are. You know how destructive or chaotic things can get, or how they will disappear. So you know that this is coming. So I'm going to give you some steps to take as you are preparing emotionally for this. One thing I want to be clear about is that you trying to ignore it and act like it's not going to hurt, or they've been abandoning you and hurting you your whole life. Just one more event is not going to really do anything, but it does. It absolutely does. Because these mean something to you. They are heavy for a reason. And so even if you have been fortunate enough to create your own family of choice, your own different healthy friendships that are super supportive and celebratory, if there is a family member that you are estranged from, or if there is unfinished business in some way, it's okay and it's normal if it crosses your mind. It's okay and it's normal if in the moment you don't feel it, but maybe a couple days later you do, or in hindsight you do. It doesn't communicate weakness, and it doesn't mean that you aren't mature or that you aren't healed or anything. It's human. When we have these bonds, when we have these connections with people, it's not natural for there to be trauma that makes it so that it's not safe to be in regular connection with them. You know, we may have to take those steps if we have a narcissistic parent, or someone who's an addict and not seeking help or support, or someone who's mentally ill and not wanting to get treatment, or not getting help, or any other reason why we may have to create distance. We may do it because we have to, but that doesn't mean that we may be happy about it. It doesn't mean that there's not a part of us that wishes it was different and that it didn't have to be that complicated. So, long way of me saying, I would not encourage you to try to repress it and suppress it, but to look at it head on so that you can move through it and so that it won't linger. So I'm going to talk about how to prepare if you see some negative things could potentially happen around this. And then I'm going to talk about what to do if an event or events have already happened. And maybe you have already tried to talk about it. Maybe you have tried to put it out of your mind. I hope that, but it's still there. I hope that if that's the case for you, that this just validates and reinforces what you've already done. Maybe add something else to help you grieve and heal that. And if nothing else, just to say, I get it and I hear you, and it's okay for your feelings to be hurt. Okay, so let's say you have a wedding that's coming up where you're in the wedding. If that wasn't clear before, you are getting married, you're getting partnered, you have a graduation that's coming, you have a big milestone, celebration, birthday, a big medical operation. And so it is assumed by just general society that family and friends will be there, be supportive, be selfless, be kind, and be encouraging and patient with you, because these are all, even though they may be really great things that are happening, they are also very stressful. And you know, based on your family, that those may not be qualities that they have. So the first thing that I would encourage you to do is to prepare yourself with reasonable expectations of what they will or will not be able to give. So by that, I mean, if these are people in your circle who typically make excuses, they promise that they're going to show up in a certain way, but then when it comes down to it, they never do. They blame other people. They maybe they help, but they nickel and dime you financially, or they nickel and dime you energetically. So if they help you with something, then you owe them. And that's just more stress. If they tend to be the type of people who come in and try to control and try to dominate and try to make it about them, being honest with yourself about who these people are. I think, and these people, that sounded kind of aggressive, who they are as people is a better way of saying that. Something that I see that happens with my students and with just people in general when it comes to these big life milestone events is there is a hope and there is a desire and an assumption that because this is such a special moment, that it is something that obviously it should be clear that we need to put away all the games and all the other stuff to make space for what's about to happen. They will show up differently, that they will rise to the occasion. And when we do that, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. We're setting them up for disappointment. We're setting up the whole situation for failure. And so it's best for you to see people exactly for where they are and what they're able to give and what they're able to contribute. Energy-wise, patience-wise, emotion-wise, focus-wise. If you have a narcissistic family member and you invite them to be a bridesmaid in your bridal party, then you need to look at the fact that this person struggles with narcissism or narcissistic tendencies. How is this going to affect my experience? What boundaries do I need to put in there? If for sure, even knowing that I still want him or her or them to be a part of this experience, or is there something else I need to do? Do I need to make them in charge of programs? Do I need to put them some other place to where they will not interfere and sabotage my day? If I know that I have a family member who's really great at decorating and doing things and showing up and they have a gift, but they are flaky, as much as I would want them to help me decorate for my birthday party and to celebrate this baby shower and to do whatever else, do I actually want to put them in charge of the decorations? I would love to, but is it wise? Is it setting myself up for the best case scenario? And if not, you will need to grieve. This is why, I'm not even at the part where I'm talking about grieving, but I think it's going to be throughout all of these steps. You may have sadness that comes up. You may have a part of you that kind of bargains with it, which is a step of grief that bargains with, well, what if I say it this way? What if I make sure that I give them 10 million reminders and I show up and I parent them and I try to structure it and I give 1 million to-do lists? If you really want to, you can do that and understand what can come with that. Either one or two things are going to happen. They're going to follow through because of what you're doing, but it's going to make your stress level 1 million times more. And it's going to be harder to enjoy your day and your moment like you deserve to be doing. If it's a medical procedure, that stress on your blood pressure and all that is not going to be helpful for you moving forward. The birth of a child, all that stuff. So either it's going to go through or you're going to do all that work and they're still going to be who they are and find a way to disappoint. Okay? So prepare yourself with reasonable expectations of who they are. And then the part 2 of that, number 2, is based on that information. Where do you want them, if you want them there at all? I've advised some previous students before who have had graduations and they have toxic family members. And for anyone who's like, she's talking about me, I might be, but I want y'all to know that this is so common. You are not the only one, unfortunately. Family trauma, friendship trauma is so common, and it's something that affects all of us. And again, the intention of this episode, we don't talk about it enough. But going back to this example, to show how you can adjust roles. Sometimes we have this belief that it's either all or nothing. It's hard for us to be creative with solutions to these problems that happen when we're around people who are neglectful and or abusive or in anything in between in that spectrum. And so we think, okay, well, they got to come to everything with the graduation. They got to come to the whole wedding. They have to be a part of every part, because if not, then it's going to look bad, or they're going to be upset, or other people are going to say things. They're going to say something anyways. If you're at the place where you have to contemplate how do I navigate and maneuver and, rig this up to where there's not as much fallout. You just need to prepare for fallout, period, because they're the type of people, there I go with it. They're the type of people. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to give any more disclaimers. I'm not going to filter anymore. They're the type of people who you can set down, a steak on a gold platter, and they're going to be like, well, where's my relish? Where's everything else with it? They're always going to find something to complain about. So do not focus on trying to make these people happy. Focus on what's going to make you happy. And so for you to be happy, maybe they only come to the graduation ceremony, but they're not invited to the party. Maybe there is an after party and they only are invited to the official one, and then it's time for them to go. Maybe they accidentally get a different time than everybody else gets for arrival and departure, but you find out what is your tolerance, what is your threshold, what is it that you want them to do or not to do. And again, you get to decide how it shows up for you. This is advanced level boundaries, but if you're in a family system or a friendship system where one person is very toxic, they don't have to be invited. And I say that's advanced because, they'll find out, and you will most likely need to talk with them about it. Not to explain yourself, but just a part of communication if this is a person that you see all the time, and saying why they weren't invited. That may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I want you to know you have permission to do whatever you need to stay emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, spiritually safe, especially at all times, but especially at these big moments and these big events that usually are once in a lifetime. The third thing in your preparation for this, after you have been honest with yourself about who they are, what you are, what tolerance level you have. Maybe you have a higher tolerance on some days, but for this, you're like, this needs to go as easy as possible for me. I deserve it. And then you adjust from there. You set roles from there. The third thing is to talk with friends ahead of time about this, to talk with them about what your plans are, why you're doing it. It's going to be really important to have emotional support, even if they adhere to the boundaries and everything goes in. Remember, like I said at the beginning, there could be a part of you that wishes this wasn't the case, that wishes that you hadn't had to block and no longer talk to this family member for the last 10 years. You haven't talked to them for 10 years. You're very content with that decision, but you wish that it didn't have to get to this place. So talking with friends, talking with your therapist about it, and navigating that. If you do not have friends, if you do not have a therapist, journaling is a really great tool to use to write out what's going on for you, what you're thinking, and just free write. Don't try to write exactly the right perfect thing in prose so that if somebody read it, they'd be like, oh, this is so beautiful and moving. Write exactly what you need to write, even if it's writing a sentence 10 times saying, I'm so mad, I'm so mad, I'm so mad. Let yourself get it out. If you are a verbal processor, get a voice note out on your phone, a voice memo out on your phone, and just talk out what it is you need to say. Get on video, pull a Beyonce, get your video diary on, and just talk to the video and have a conversation with yourself. But get out the pain that you're feeling, and because it's going to be really important so that you don't have all those emotions clouding your mind and clouding your heart as the days approaches and gets closer. And another thing that you can do, which I've seen, I mentioned it previous, even in the text community episode, but there are, even though I don't have one, there are an abundance of free Facebook groups and group chat groups where people, it's assumed and it's built for people to come and say, this is a negative experience I'm having. This is what's coming up. What do y'all think? So I would find those Facebook groups. I would find those social chat groups. I would kind of scope the scene first a little bit to see how toxic it is. If people are just wilding on people and no one's moderating it, or if it's positive vibes. If you're catching positive vibes, then that might be a good place for you to say, I have this big birthday party coming up in a few months, and there's some people I want to invite and there's some people I don't, because these people are toxic or hurtful? What are y'all's thoughts? What have y'all done whenever you've been feeling guilty, even when you know it's the right decision? And just get support from other people. Don't underestimate the power of others just saying me too. Sometimes there's either no clear answer, or there is an answer, but there's no way for it to happen without there being some hurt or animosity or blood on the ground on either side. And sometimes, so in those cases, we can kind of feel defeated. But knowing that you're not the only person who's gone through this and will go through this can be the most encouraging and, again, healing experience, because I feel like that's the core of so many of our traumas and the pain that we experience, thinking that we're the only one, thinking that our problems are so big, or we're such a bad person, or no one's really, people are going to think that this is me being silly. It's not that big of a deal. I should be over it. No. All of us are out here trying to figure out love, emotions, connections, and we all have really amazing days, and we all may have some really tough situations and tough days as well. And so joining with other people is what the community part is, what helps us get through it. So that's the before. Now let's talk about the after. So you've already had the event just happened. Maybe it is that you thought everything was going to be okay, but then when stuff went down, shit went sideways, and you saw and experienced a lot of hurt and neglect. Or maybe something happened a while ago, and like I said at the beginning, whenever it comes to mind, it's really hard for you. I remember it took me years. For me, my big event, or one of the big events that was very hurtful for me, was my wedding. And so for years, I could not watch wedding shows. I used to love watching wedding shows and like what people put together and everything. And it was just literally, it was too traumatic for me, even seeing previews of it. And I remember I tried to find even Facebook groups or articles or something that talked about the trauma of weddings and when things go bad. Forums, anything, Reddit, anything. And I could not find one thing that talked about it outside of like a preparation post or list that said, just be prepared for things to go wrong. No one was talking about what happens if your trauma is reenacted on this day. How do you cope? Because this event, not just weddings, but all these events, when you have family and just the gang's all here, everything is coming together. You have all of the current family dynamics just magnified times 10, and maybe even a focus on it. And so if there is a family member, again, who may have been controlling, abusive, dominating or something, on those days, they are most likely going to be that much more so, or the same amount they always are, but it hurts even more when it happens. Same thing with someone who may be neglectful, someone who may abandon you, someone who may not follow through or be flaky, all the things I've already said before. And so those are things that happen. So with that said, the first thing I want to say for you to consider and to use and to do is, one, it's okay to be upset. It is okay to be upset. It is okay for you to be more than upset. It's okay for you to be pissed. It's okay for you to be rageful. It's okay for whatever height and volatility that your emotions get to, for you to feel them. No sugarcoating. It's okay for you to feel that, because the theory of dialectical behavior therapy says that anger is an appropriate emotion. This is a type of therapy for those of us who may struggle with our emotions, and either they go really numb, or when we feel them, they're very explosive. And so this type of therapy teaches you how to build moderation around your emotions, to feel them without having them rule you, also without you repressing them. So with anger, it talks about anger is justified whenever you or someone you love are in danger, or when something is being taken from you. And I would argue with my whole chest that in those moments, your ability to have peace, part of your emotional safety and identity is taken during those moments when that trauma is reenacted. I think those moments when those happen, it just, your inner little girl wounds and your inner child wounds are on full display and ripped open for you to see, ripped open for other people to see. So in my opinion, take this or leave this, high emotions make sense and they're valid, because you are not being protected. And if something like that happened to anybody else in your circle or just anyone else, period, you would probably be like, what the fuck is happening? So those types of emotions make sense for you too. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to share, that I want to suggest for you to do in these moments where you're needing to grieve what happened or didn't happen at whatever big event is coming to mind for you, baby shower or whatever else, is it is not only after the anger and the rage, it's okay for you to feel hurt. And with those feelings of hurt, it is okay for you to feel as if you cannot trust them as much. I think when these events happen, there's so many different ways that people can go, but I'm going to speak specifically to those of us who are still working on finding that balance between what are the right emotions for me to have? What do I have permission to feel? How do I know when I am being too sensitive, if that even exists, or when I'm not being sensitive enough and I might be kind of blocking the emotions that I need to feel? And with that said, I think the quickness that people are forgiven or not forgiven always comes up. I will see people who something really, really disgusting and despicable happened to where it makes sense for someone to take a beat to process the depth of what just occurred before they're like, it's okay, I understand, I forgive you, and move on. The fact that they are so quick to just say, oh, don't worry about it, is an internal red flag, because it means that you really don't have a true threshold and standard and limit for how people need to treat you. That there are some things that warrant the pause. I talked in a previous episode that forgiveness is hard, and there are some things that some people will struggle to forgive. We know that forgiveness is something that is healthy and beneficial for you as a person. Is always going to be better for your physical health, if not your mental health. And for some of us, we need to feel what we need to feel as long as we need to feel it, because we deserve to, because we have a right to. So, that's a long way of me saying sometimes it's okay for you to not give forgiveness immediately. I think for some of us, but I'm going to say some of y'all, it's not that you will never be someone who immediately forgives. I think some really healthy people are the type who can kind of assess what's happened and offer immediate forgiveness. And that might be part of your gifting. But I think if you have lived so much of your life without saying, oh my God, that hurt, and I don't like that, and always thinking of other people and their emotions before even considering yourself, and that you are also a person and you also have a heart and you also deserve to be respected and honored and cherished, and you just ignore yourself as deserving of that attention and that protection, then I think you probably would benefit from going through a period of you feeling these emotions fully before you're so quick to try to toss them aside or push them down. And so with that hurt, it's okay for you to lose some trust sometimes. Sometimes people do things without even realizing they're doing it, and it's not intentional. Sometimes they do things without realizing it, and it's not intentional. And it wasn't purposeful, but the level of the impact of the discretion that they did is so egregious and just plain wrong that it warrants them needing to work to regain trust, or at least for there to be a pause for you to evaluate, can I let this person be in my life, knowing, or be in my life at this level? So not for you to cut them off, unless it's so bad that maybe you need to, but can I allow this person to be in my life at the level that they are within my circle, knowing that this may be something that's not on their radar? Because again, even when you tell people what you need, that doesn't mean that they're going to show up for you the way that you need them to, especially if it's something that they don't know how to do, they don't want to do, that's scary for them to do. When we talk about intimacy and connection and putting others first, it is, or considering other people, is not as easy when you are used to doing relationships in a dysfunctional way and being self-absorbent in a lot of ways. Learning how to share that and learning what the balance is hard for all of us. It's hard for you no matter what spectrum you're on, whether or not you're codependent and you're trying to learn how to consider yourself. That is scary. That is painful in a lot of ways. That is new and foreign. And if you're someone who's always considered yourself, either because you struggle with selfishness or you learned that you had to focus on just you because of how your life and trauma has made you super independent and resilient and me first. Once you meet people that you actually want to share life with and communicate with and build with, it doesn't automatically turn on you learning how to consider them. That is something you have to learn, and it's stretching, and it's also scary, and resentment can come up because it triggers your trauma. It's work no matter where you are. It's work for all of us. But you get to decide whether or not they deserve to be there. They don't get to be there just because y'all are related by blood, because y'all have known each other for a long time. Y'all got history. Even if you made a commitment to be together long term, if you are being hurt and if you are being let down all of the time, no matter what you do and communicate, it's okay for that relationship to be reevaluated. Which leads to number 3. After the big event, after the big thing has happened and you're reflecting on it, I really want to encourage you to tell them how you feel. You telling them how you feel is not because you're not because you're necessarily trying to get revenge or tell them off, or you're trying to change them. When we communicate, that is a form of us showing up for our inner little girl, showing up for the ways that we may have been disrespected, asking for what we need. You may need time and space to do it. You may have already evaluated all this on your own and have decided that you're just going to adjust the relationship on your own and you don't really want to talk to them. That may be the case, but I would still encourage you to talk to someone about what just happened. Whatever just happened that made you want to reevaluate this relationship was so strong to where that was needed to be done. So maybe processing this letdown, this disappointment, this hurt, this wounding with a friend, a loved one, your therapist, your journal, all the things I've already said would be really beneficial for you so that you can fully cleanse yourself of it, get their feedback, get their validation, and let it go. It's also really good to have that mirror because I'm talking as if we have complete clear glasses, that we don't have any blinders, that we don't have any biases. And there could be some things that we feel very strongly about that when we bounce it off someone else, they give us an alternative perspective where they can validate what we're feeling, but also provide another thing to consider. And so maybe with that, we're like, oh, okay, I get it. Or this wasn't intentional, or they weren't trying to hurt me, or this isn't as bad as I thought it was. And it helps you learn how to modify your expectations that may be based on trauma. So for example, if I know I never talk about attachment specifically here, but let's say I'm someone who's anxiously attached. So I'm very prone and sensitive to any kind of threat of being rejected, hurt, people not liking me, people being mad at me, and something happens to where I totally read the situation as if they were upset with me and they did something intentionally, and that reflected how they didn't show up for me. And then I talk with a friend who's not connected to this, and I talk to a friend about the scenario, and they validate my feelings, but then they also point out, well, it sounds like this is also what happened, and that they told you this, and that they actually did try to show up for you in this way, and they did try to make all these preparations to be there for you, even though they couldn't be physically present. And they point out all of this stuff that point to the fact that maybe this person was intentionally trying to do the best that they could with what they were given. Maybe you have to learn how to readjust how you see things in your own perspective, but you're not going to know any of this when you're making all these decisions in your head. That's why even in my coaching program, there are some women who come in and kind of lurk and do the program on their own and do all their work. But I really strongly emphasize coming to our group calls, talking with me about what's going on, because we are all limited by our own perspective. Even me, who does this all the time. Right now, I have a phone date scheduled with a girlfriend, because I'm like, girl, let me know if what I'm thinking makes sense. And I fully know she's going to tell me the truth. I know she's going to validate me because she loves me and she's so supportive and loving. And I know if there's another consideration, she's going to tell me that as well. And we all need those types of relationships and people who will stretch us in that way, who aren't immediately everybody else is wrong and you're right, and also don't use those opportunities to shit on us and make us feel dumb and make us feel like we're too needy. We need people who always are in our corner, but that doesn't make them enablers. So yes. Share your feelings is my point for number 3, whether or not it's with the person or yourself. If you're sharing it with the person directly, you're sharing it because it is important for you to express how you felt with what they did or did not do, not because you're trying to force an apology or force them to change. It would be great if they did, but if you go in wanting that to happen, you're going in with the potential to be let down. Okay? So with that said, their response, if you do share this with someone, is going to tell you a lot. Maybe they will say, I'm sorry. Maybe they will just look at you, which absolutely happened in part of my experiences where I share what happened, and the person or persons did not really have an emotional response to this and felt really justified with what they did or didn't do. So I had to store that as information and go from there with levels of trust and where I let them in or did not let them in. Fighting with people, trying to convince people to care about you is a losing battle. If they do not care enough about you to even fake it, they're telling you, they're showing you exactly what they're capable of. And so you deserve to be in relationships where you don't have to fight for people to care about you or to even have any kind of remorse or find the middle ground. Because again, there's so many scenarios in this world. It's just impossible to cover them all in this podcast. But there can absolutely be scenarios where someone let you down, and the way they let you down, or the reason they let you down, there are some other details and circumstances where maybe they felt they needed to protect themselves. Maybe y'all have been in a mutually toxic or codependent or really complicated relationship, and then this event came up, the graduation came up, the baby shower came up, the wedding came up, and both of y'all tried to put these unresolved feelings to the side, but whatever doesn't get healed gets revealed. And so it came up. And so maybe this is an opportunity that y'all need to mutually fully talk these things out. And those scenarios happen. But depending on their response, you need to look at it, see how open they are, see how available they are. And same thing with the previous steps. Where do they need to go in my trust level? Where do they need to go in my inner circle level? And then next up is to make the shift, whatever it may be, make the movement, and then mourn it. Again, all of these things come with emotional charge. Even if it ends up okay, even if you process what happened, you share with the person, they are apologetic, y'all hug, y'all kiss, y'all bring it all back together. There's still emotional stress that comes into this. There's still fear of rejection. There is nervousness in saying it. There's the waiting with actually waiting for their response and what they're thinking, which, by the way, don't do this over text. I feel like I should probably do this PSA a jillion times. Don't do emotional conversations over text. If you're ever writing something to someone and you are hitting more than 4 sentences, it needs to be a phone call. It just needs to be. Anytime I've broken my own rule, there's always shit that comes from it. Whether it's an email or a text, there's some kind of misunderstanding. And I look back and I'm like, I should have called. Or they should have called. Talking about it face to face if y'all are in person. Please take that advice if you really want to move forward, because there's so many ways for that to go left. People can't hear your tone of voice. If you're already sharing something emotional and they leave you on red, even if they don't leave you on red, but they need to take time to figure out how they want to respond, and you're sitting there for 6 hours making up all these scenarios in your head about what they actually think and what they feel. So when they finally respond, you're pissed off, even if they're trying to respond in love. Girl, pick up the phone, have the conversation. And if you get stage fright, write it out in the form of a letter. And when you are in front of them, ask if you can read it to them. And just so you don't have to think, but talk to them. Okay. But going back to the title of this episode, grieving the fact that even no matter what happens with these people or doesn't happen with these people, after the event happened, there can be a whole lot of sadness and regret and anger that this moment or these moments that should have been about you can feel like it was taken from you. And so going through the sadness, the bargaining, the what ifs, what if I told them to come? What if I didn't tell them to come? What if I had this conversation with them ahead of time to set boundaries and expectations? Would it have gone differently? What if this, what if that? That's the bargaining phase. Sadness phase is self-explanatory. Anger and rage is another part of the grieving process, and acceptance is also a part. Making meaning from what happened, and you're allowed to feel whatever you need to feel as long as you need to feel it. But the only way for you to get through it is to actually go through it. Ignoring it and not bringing it up is not going to help you move forward. Even if it's out of sight, out of mind, the next time there's an event like this, it will trigger those thoughts and those emotions and those feelings. And so hopefully this is helpful for anyone who may need this now or may need it in the future. It's always sad when these things happen, but I just want you to know that it's not your fault. You deserve to be celebrated. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to have moments that are just about you, and that you don't owe anybody for it. They're not doing you a favor to show up for you. Love is free. Love is free. Love should not come with all these stipulations and buybacks and all this other stuff that comes with it. Love should be mutual. Where you are giving and they are also giving. That there are times when one person holds a little bit more of it, and there are times that you hold a little bit more, but that y'all are both reciprocal in how you meet to try to show up for each other. That is what healthy love and connection can look like. And so I just want to present that to you in whatever form you need it today. So I'm sending you all so much love, so much kindness, so much joy. And because it's coming up, I just want to have one more quick reminder that we are hosting our last open house, my last open house for the recovery school before I close coaching it live. And this is going to be my last time teaching it. So I would love for you to join me. If you've ever wanted to work together, if you If you wanted to have access to me to answer questions, to get inside of how I help people work through the things that I talk about on this podcast, I would love the opportunity to be your coach. And so our open house is on Tuesday, August 30th at 6:30 p.m. CST. I'm going to be going over the whole program, the structure, what I teach, how I help people, who the program is for, who is not for, the cost, the payment plans, all the stuff will be going on then, and it's going to be live, so you'll be able to ask me questions if there's anything that I don't cover in the enrollment open house. And we're having it on that night because it is for our September cohort, which will be the last cohort. So if you haven't signed up, now's your chance. blackgirlsheal.org/open house, and you can save your seat. So that is it for today, y'all. Again, sending you so much love. And as always, I do hope that you take care of yourselves. See you in the next one.